I have this component called homepage template. It accepts just one prop. As a good practice in React applications, when you are using TypeScript, you should define the props as a separate interface. And this is what it looks like. Now, we have just one value in this interface. Now, the first tip is this. Always define your props as an interface. That way, you can easily destructure it from here and then use it. The second tip is always make sure that you define this interface in this same file. That way, you will know that this prop belongs to this component and you can then export it. Now, tips 3. You can see that this is my component, but below is where I define other things, interfaces and functions, reducers and all that. This way, whenever you get to this component, you will easily get access to your components and the JSX will return. Next tip, if you've been building React applications, I'm sure you've run into this. This component requires a lot of on-click handlers. It also has a child component called section header, where we are passing in some value. This section header will also receive some functions that it will trigger. For example, here in section header, when you click on a button, this is what it looks like. This is the section header component, and this is the rest of the component. So section header alone, we need to trigger 1, 2, 3, 4 click events on the parent component, which is the homepage template component. Now look at one thing that is smart you can do. Instead of creating those functions here like many of us do, creating lots and lots of functions. For example, one function to move this up, one function to move it down, another function to toggle it, and another function to remove it. Instead of doing all that, use reducer. And this is how I did it. Here I have a reducer right here that I've defined. In order to use this, you have to understand how to use the use reducer hook. If you need more guide on this, let me know. So it's simply like a replacement to use state. So you call use reducer and then it returns the state and then a dispatch function. This is really very cool. If you already know how to use a store like a Redux store, you'll be familiar with this, but this is just done on the component level. We pass a reducer function and then the default state here. Okay, so I'm going to explain this, what I did here, because this is also remarkable. How I provided the type of the data, which is the state, and then also the type of the dispatch function, which is going to be the reducer. But first, use the use reducer hook to create a reducer. And then instead of having different functions in here to update this state, you now define them in this use reducer and you treat them like a store. So here you have different actions. This is the reducer function. You have different action with a switch statement. For example, for a toggle event, all we have to do is to come in here and then toggle all the items inside this section info state. So it's like we are updating the state, but here for each action we are returning a value. So you return the state and then you modify the value and return a new state, and it will automatically update the state. Another tip, since you are using TypeScript, create a type for all the acceptable actions here, because whenever you call dispatch, React will invoke this reducer function for you, and you have to define the type of this action, and this is where I defined it. Okay, this is a little bit more complicated, okay, but I hope you understand it. So this is homepage dispatch action, okay, but I defined it as a type using conditional type in TypeScript. And let me show you what that does. First of all, whoever invokes this reducer function will pass a particular action, which could be toggle, update, add section. As you can see here, you can click on add section. You can remove all. You can add section. Okay, you can fold all. You can toggle this. You can move this one down. If you go in and select something, it also updates the title of each of these. You can move this. Let's say you select this one. You can move this one down. You can move this one up. You can move this one up when you get here. You can move this one down again. So all these actions are handled here in this reducer. Toggle, update, add section, remove section ID, fold all. Imagine if I was doing all of this inside this component. I will have lots and lots of functions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Up to 9 functions in here, and it will cluster this component. So by moving it to a reducer, just to create a function and then accept an action and then update the state. Okay, next tip, make sure you create a type for each of these actions so that whenever someone dispatches an action, it must be one of these. For example, here in this section header component, we have a click event that moves up. once you click on this function, we dispatch an action. And you notice that I haven't passed this dispatch that was returned for us from useReducer function. I haven't passed it as a prop to this section header component. So that instead of passing different functions, all I have to do is to dispatch an action. And of course, I have to go in here and create a prop for this section header and then state what dispatch is going to look like. And this is what dispatch looks like. It accepts an action. And then you can see that the type of that action is homepage dispatch action. Okay, but I'm passing a generic here such that this action must be of type this. And then we also have optional values that you can pass. You can pass section index or section info. For example, here, when you want to move this section up, we'll do that with index. If you click on it, we pass the section index as well, so we know which one to move up and which one to move down. Then the section info is also important, so that when we come in here and select a value, it will dispatch the update action with the updated section info. And that is how we are able to get it here. If you select a particular section here, that action will be dispatched and we'll get the updated section, and then we update it. Now, a very important tip here, you can see here that we took the action and then we created a conditional type here. And this is very important. If you want to understand this more, let me know in the comment section so that I will do a separate video for it. We have a type here that we're exporting that we called homepage dispatch action. It accepts a generic, okay, called T, which extended the type from here, so it could be one of these types. And this is how you do it. T extends this. It means T could be any of this type. Okay, then with the generic, we can then conditionally determine the type of homepage dispatch action. What it means is that this could be any of many things, but it is conditional. For example, if the user dispatches an action of type update, then we want to set the type at that point for this homepage dispatch action to accept type and then to accept section index and also section info. If the action type is toggle instead, then we want to accept type and also section index. Else, if the action type is remove, then we accept type and then section index. This way, it makes it easy for us. For example, here in the section header, if you are dispatching a remove type, then it must ask you for the section index as we define here. Here is remove. You must provide the type and you must provide the section index. If you come in here and forgot to provide the section index, here we start getting an error, and you can see here property section index is missing in type. So this is the beauty of using conditional types in TypeScript. Okay, so the conditional types helps us make this type dynamic. So if you want to toggle something, then the type will be this. If you want to remove something, then the type will be this. So I hope you learned something in this update. If you want me to expand on any of this topic, do let me know. If you want premium WordPress plugin to be built for you, also let me know. We'll jump on a Zoom call, discuss all the details, and then I get to create it for you. And all the plugins I create are all created according to the WordPress coding standards. I also build a lot of React and Next.js app with Rust application in the back end as API. So hit me up if you need any of this built for you.